Hello everyone and welcome to the YouTube channel mecaniquesportive. This is Nicolas. Today I'm presenting to you the brand new Renault R4. Actually Renault 4. We don't say R4 or 4L, it's the Renault 4. Now finally we get our hands on it. We're among the first in the world to be able to try it out on this channel. Well, it's nice because look at this style. It really does remind you a bit of what there was before. There are a few design cues. What does it take from before? It also brings some of those back. The chassis of the Renault 5, which is a big hit, you really start to see a lot of them now. I love this car. It has the same technical base, the same batteries, the same motors, except that the rest, the exterior, changes. Well, for me, it's not something new because it really has its own style. And on top of that, the price is still pretty reasonable. What could you discover on the site? I'll let you go check it out. That way it's a bit of a surprise for you. And mainly, I didn't write it down. Actually, maybe if I get the prices in the meantime, I'll put them here for you. But yeah, I didn't know. That's why. But I was mostly looking forward to trying it. Since they're advertising this car as more comfortable, more spacious, with a big trunk, in short, everything we need. Basically, people used to say the R5, yeah, it's cool, it's a small car, but not much space. Here. Actually, we have the same thing, the same chassis with the rear arms, which means it's going to be something pretty dynamic. I can't wait to test it for you. I haven't done it yet. So far, I've driven from Lisbon to here, more than 150 kilometers. I'm going to do a battery test, as usual. The goal is to get as close to zero as possible, to be completely honest with you. Right now, the place I need to go shows minus 24% on arrival. But you know me, I'm quite a risk taker. And we're going to try to make it, even if we arrive with 1 or 0%, just like we did with the ER5. But at least I'm one of the only ones, usually, to give you a real range test on this car. Today, during these international tests, there are people from all over the world coming to try out this car. And there you go. As usual, I'll give you a quick tour of the car again and go over the main features for you. I already did this in the studio. I presented it several times, so I won't go into too much detail again. If you really want all the details, the interiors, etc., go to mecaniquesportive, type in Renault 4, mecaniquesportive. You'll find other videos and you'll know everything about this one as well. Even so, normally, you should be able to leave with all the information. One thing to know is that it will come in two power options, 120 horsepower and 150 horsepower, unlike the Renault 5, which will have a 90 or 95 horsepower version. This time, they preferred to focus a bit more on the batteries. There are also two choices, the 40 kilowatt hour or the 52 kilowatt hour, like the one I'm showing you today here, the 52 kilowatt hour. It's announced to have a range of 400 kilometers. Of course, we're going to do a mix today, and to be honest with you, we're going to cover more than 100 kilometers. 130 kilometers on the highway. It was announced for 400 kilometers mixed to only 220 kilometers on the highway. The small battery, 40 kilowatt hours, is announced for 300 kilometers and about 150 to 160 only on the highway. So we'll see how it performs in real conditions. The weather is pretty nice today, but there will be some sun, so we'll turn on the air conditioning as usual. In short, just everyday use. For me, I'm going with this beautiful glass of French water. It's a car that was made in Maubeuge in France, so there's really a lot of made in France in this car. Everything will be produced and assembled in France, and that's pretty cool. Cocorico, as the little rooster here would say. On the windshield, you can see little French flags all over. This is the iconic trim that I'm showing you today. This vehicle is 4 meters 14 long, so it's longer than the Renault 5, since it has more trunk space and more room in the back. Normally, it's 180 centimeters, so 1 meter 80 wide and 1 meter 57 high. We keep a car with a relatively contained weight, 1,400 kilograms for the smallest battery, about 1,500 kilograms for a small sport utility vehicle like this, 100% electric. Well, that's still very reasonable, which should normally affect the consumption, as well as the braking and the dynamics of this car, which is still noticeable. Up to 750 kilograms, and we'll see that there's a trunk in the back with 420 liters, since it's a car that's still mainly designed for the city. With this R-Sync base, we have a turning diameter of 10.8 meters and a ground clearance. Since it's a bit sport utility vehicle, like it's 18.1 centimeters, which is normally supposed to handle small paths, there, the cobblestones and all that, we'll see, we'll test all that. Of course, this color will be available. So this is a new color, and there are new blues as well. We'll have black, a little bit of red, we'll have gray, white, in short, some pretty nice colors. Honestly, if you can choose a color like this on the road, it would make me really happy. And since the 80s, I've been seeing that there are fewer and fewer colors, even though all the brands are trying to bring back flashy pop colors and all that. Please choose that one. And it's so much more beautiful, it brightens up life, it feels good in the heart. While I'm on this side, let's talk about charging on this side. So we'll recharge the battery at 11 kilowatts, for example, when we're at home or at a charging station in the city. up to 80 kilowatts with fast charging, and on the 150 horsepower version, you can go up to 100 kilowatts. You can get a rough idea. As usual, it'll take between 25 and 30 minutes. For a charge from 10 to 80%, it'll take a little over 45 minutes for a 0 to 100% charge. As for the trim levels, we'll still have the Evolution. The Techno and the Iconic. The Techno Iconic will have this backlit dashboard with the illuminated logo at the front. What really defines the characteristics of this new Renault 4? And I have to admit, I love that. Anyway, I can't wait to test an Evolution version. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in me testing the most basic version. You'll also be able to customize this car a lot. You can even have the hood here in a different color. And by the way, they've come up with a new printing technique where they do it like a laser printer, painting directly on the body, which is a bit different. It allows you to have different colors. You can have up to 670 different customizations on this car with the little details marked here, with the roof and so on. Yes, as you can see, we also have it in a two-tone. By the way, while I'm here, I'll take the opportunity to talk about the roof bars, which can support up to around 80 kilograms. Normally, it's quite sturdy, and that could be a plus if you want to add more storage. Honestly, I'm not hiding anything from you. If you drive on the highway, this isn't necessarily the ideal car for going on vacation given its range on the highway. On the other hand, an interesting thing is that they've finally added one pedal to this Renault 4. And yes, he told us about it during the studio presentation. It's here now, so we'll be able to test it. You'll see that there are several recovery modes, including a true freewheel mode, which will be really interesting. I'll show it to you and talk about it while we're driving, and the real one-pedal mode that goes all the way to a stop. And that's a plus. That will also be coming to the Renault 5 and soon with an update since it's coming to the 4. Well, the front end, you can't say it doesn't look like the old version, like the 4 liter. With this grille here, this design, well, yes, it has evolved. It's become a sport utility vehicle. Back then, it wasn't really a sport utility vehicle, but it was still an all-purpose car. The cars back then were extremely spacious. I'm sure that back then they were even more spacious than this. By the way, even in a compact car, because we had thin panels, no safety features and so on, it was really something else. But here we're dealing with something modern, with cameras, of course. Up there we have level 2 assisted driving, which means you can take your hands and feet off. It drives itself, it stays centered in the lane, adaptive cruise control, and that's it. It's definitely a real advantage. Of course, you have to keep your hands on the wheel, since that's what the law requires. So we have our roof bars, our two-tone color here, and some small grills that are a bit reminiscent of what they used to be back in the day. It brings style, design, it's pretty nice. Yes, the rooster here, like I mentioned earlier. Something very flat with just 2 indentations here. Something simple, but it has style. It gives it a slightly tougher look. Next, here, the grille that we can really see. I'm a huge fan of that. This plastic part here, of course, can be changed since it's a kind of polyvinyl chloride that covers the whole length. So, yes, maybe it will cost a little more for glass breakage with insurance, but that's what you need to know. It's plastic, it's specifically made to withstand rocks and other things, but you can change that without really changing the whole frame. Of course, we have the whole illuminated part that really goes around with the backlit logo right here, and that I admit that at night, it's going to have an incredible style. Everyone will recognize you on the road. It's going to be the new thing. Our Quattro keeps this style, and I have to admit that in the front, a style like this has never been done before. I also love the lights here with all the little lines. Of course, it's 100% LED on all trims, even the very first Evolution model. So here we have a front-wheel drive car. So, as I was saying, 120 horsepower with 220 Newton meters of torque, or 150 horsepower with 245 Newton meters of torque. Both have a top speed of 150 kilometers per hour, and this one does 0 to 108.5 seconds. Of course, as usual, I tested in this review. Then from here, you can see that we have a nice separation happening there. And we move on to parts that are all plastic. So we're switching to a slightly rougher, more textured plastic still. And the small bumper trims here are quite nice, which we'll also find at the back. And there's a tiny air curtain right there. After that, it's pretty simple. We've got the grills here to provide ventilation. The battery pack depends on usage and temperature. And in the center, the sensor for the driver assistance systems. Unfortunately, no close here. If I open it for you, I'll come over here. Inside, we'll just have the electrical systems and unfortunately, no storage here. So on this side, we won't do anything either. Fill the ice liquid and change the 12-volt battery if needed. Yeah, I can see what you're going to say in the comments. Just like you did with the Renault 5, it won't exist as a hybrid. Renault said 100% with, yeah, that's true. The R5 as a hybrid I-Tech would have been great. That in I-Tech would have been great too. Unfortunately, they don't want to. Yet I think a lot of us are asking for it. It's true that it would be super, mega cool if we could have the choice. A bit like Peugeot does, for example, with the 208, which is available as a hybrid, a regular gasoline, and it's Renault. That would be cool because honestly, I'm sure we could do it because there's room for an engine. Here, we could even make more room on the floor, and wow, that would be so nice. They don't want to yet. Maybe if we all insist on this, but if you do, it could be cool. We're not there yet. If you agree with me in the comments, say so. I think that if everyone says yeah, maybe they'll want to do it at some point on the side. So, and 4 meters 14 in length for this car and a wheelbase of 2 meters 62. That is from here to over there at the center of the wheels. 2 meters 62 longer. We're going to test what it's like in the back seats with me, who is 1 meter 80 tall, also on the side. It really stands out because what I find most striking is this rear part. Here you can really recognize it, and it's very distinctive compared to other models. The roof bar's up there, this little bar here, it's a bit like the Renault 5, but the Renault 5s went all the way around. Here, they had to change it, it's not the same model. You can see that we still have a spoiler here that goes much further, and it's cut very sharply. So that's to play with the aerodynamics. The roof bars, to be honest with you, I forgot I had them on the highway, and they make very little noise, even at 130 kilometers per hour, and it was actually quite pleasant. Next, we have these pillars here in glossy black, the tinted rear windows, and on this iconic version, this blue color is really nice. The wheel arches here are made of plastic, and it's the same. This is quite well done. There are lots of small details, for example down here, and the things on the sides. The part here alternates between matte and glossy. Then it comes back and it's the same. The rear is quite well designed. Honestly, they did a really great job. I really like these designs. They're modern. There's a bit of a sporty touch, especially these parts that stand out. It's very nice. And especially Salah, who really reminds us of the old Renault 4, thanks to these little parts. Directly put in the door, on the metal, 2 handles like a fridge, something pretty simple. And the mirrors, also simple, but still with the blind spot warning included. And when it comes to the rims, you can see we have 18-inch ones here today. I think these are the best looking rims for this car. So do I recommend them? Honestly? And for the tire width, we're looking at 195 with sidewalls 60 high, which normally still brings a certain level of comfort, since the thicker the tires, the more comfort you get. And on top of that, the suspension has been reworked specifically on this car. Can't wait to see how it turns out. My little 3/4 rear view, as usual, because I like the rear, it's the same. It really takes on the DNA of the original version from back in the day when I was barely around. So it seems to me like something very straight, but a little bit slanted. So you can see that it's very linear with this little spoiler sticking out. We have the Renault, which is marked here as well on a textured part between matte and glossy. It's nice, and the cot that reminds us on the side. Honestly, it has style, it contrasts well here, and it really looks different from when it said 308. The name, and it's true that just a number like that, it's pretty cool. And while you're on the side, you can really see that the hips are nicely rounded. There's really work like that a little bit everywhere here. Personally, I really like, and even the 3D lights, this part, that actually reminds you of the vertical lights from back in the day, with 3 sections. Here, so you can even see it, it makes 1, 2, 3, 4, since it's separated at this point in time. And even the rear bumper with its trims, here, just like we found at the front, almost the same ones. It's extremely well done here. We have a section, honestly, with lots and lots of things. It's very nice. You can see that the whole lower part is plastic. From here, everything is metal and painted, but it really gives it a bit more of a refined look. Adventurous, just like it was back in the day with, I think he left in a Quattrell, but it even had little metal bumpers and other things, and that was the style. I liked it. Third time, stop. Here, the windshield wiper, which is a real plus. License plate holder, camera, right there, camera. I'll show you inside. The resolution isn't great, that's a bit of a shame. Then, something rather nice with a sort of small diffuser. Here, the trunk, since I'm in an iconic version, we even have the trunk that opens electrically. I think that's a plus. Of course, we have the hands-free feature. You wave your foot underneath, and they've done something a little special on this car. Look here, I sat down, and it's good. The loading threshold here is very low. It's at 61 centimeters, exactly where it's the lowest. And for the hands-free feature, you wave your foot underneath. And they did a little something special on this car. Look here, I sat down, and it's good. The loading threshold here is very low. It's at 61 centimeters, exactly where it is. Also, I can sit like this, I can settle in pretty well, so it's not really flat, it's just a little bit tilted. but because underneath there are still other things, because here there's still a place I can reach. There's even a tray that I can remove if I want. For example, there's my charging cable, I can separate it. So here I can open it from just one side. If, like me here, for example, you have something that's a little bit full. On this side, we have little reminders with the 4, some small elastics here with the blue, white and red flag reminding us of France. On each side, there are storage compartments, the small light bulb here, the rear bench seat, which will fold down in a 2/3, 1/3 split. But on the other hand, we don't get a flat surface since it will be raised up a bit afterwards. We have, if you remember correctly, 420 liters of cargo space here. So Nico fits in here, 420 liters. It fits pretty well. There's space, plus the small storage compartment underneath. Honestly, for me, I think that's more than enough. Strollers should normally fit like this. I tried it with friends who all had strollers and they fit like this. Afterwards, we might not be able to put a lot of things, but at least we'll be able to store a little more. Actually, a lot more than in a Renault 5. So how does it look in terms of the seats in the back? So I open this door, which is pretty light and easy to open with a small fridge. We have a nice opening with the doors. On the top, there's some pretty basic plastic, and then this houndstooth interior, since we're in the iconic version. So here we have houndstooth. Also on the seats here, on the top and in the front, also on the doors and on the seats. Then everything else is plastic, with just this little fabric part that has been reworked. Otherwise, everything else is pretty simple. After that, we're dealing with a car that's still relatively accessible here, but the handle is still in black. The body is pretty nice, and we had put the impulse train at the level of the rear window. There's a big part to step over here with a plastic section, but it still needs some work, and I just installed it inside. So here we go. So I'm 1.80 meters tall coming to do this here. So I was the one driving in a pretty relaxed way, and as you can see, so 1.80 meters. I have space for my knees and a little bit for my feet, unlike in the R5 where I'm really much more cramped, so it's a little better here. Even at the head level, it's fine. I'm not hitting the upper part directly. And honestly, well, it's actually pretty good. I'm comfortable and I'm tall, 1.80 meters. Actually, my eyes are about at this level, so a large part is hidden by the top. But the windows are about average size, pretty much like what you see today. Move, not turned on, so I can see how far it goes down. And unfortunately, it's really bad. In this case, look at this. It's 25 centimeters and there's not even 25 centimeters of opening here. Maybe about 22 or 23. So it's a small opening. I would have liked it a little bigger, but the backrest is nicely carved out. There are parts on the sides that give good lateral support and the seat is decent. So, since the batteries are under the floor, it raises the floor a little bit. That means my legs are naturally raised a bit too. So I don't necessarily have a very, very good one. How should I put it? Well, very, very good support on all the thighs down here, but let's say it's okay. After that, it's the same. Like I was saying, it's not necessarily the car you'd use to drive all the way across France in one go. It's more for everyday use. And honestly, it'll do the job just fine for 20 or 30 minutes to take the kids to school or something like that. But really, it'll still be quite spacious. What's nice is that we have a completely flat floor here. So that means if I want to slide my feet, I can do it. Usually it's a child or someone younger that we put there, someone a bit shorter, even though I think that at 10 years old now, you have to use child seats and so on. You see, I'm not very knowledgeable about all that. At 10 years old, they're starting to get big. Kids these days, I guess they eat well, but it would still allow for some space. Here, we have foam pockets in the front, bigger pockets here in the back, 2 USB Type-C ports here, and a very small storage compartment here that isn't very useful. Because it feels like anything you put in there will just fall, though it's really deep. I can put all of this in there, well hidden. In any case, not a central hallway, but a central space here. A bed that's not necessarily harder, so it rises a little bit, but it's not necessarily airy and soft. The backrest here, though. So it's much harder in this spot. I have about the same amount of space at knee level. However, my feet, since I'm at the level of the rails, I can't slide them under the seats. So I'd have to spread them out a little like this. And even at head level, I still have a little bit of space left here. In short, it'll do the job for taking the kids to school and other things. And we'll have 3 baby seats here, plus 2 in the back, so 3 child seats. That's pretty good. Come on, let's rediscover the front before we hit the road. As usual, my little tour of the car. So I'm not really sure what that's for. Maybe if you want to make a bridge or something for demos up there. Anyway, that's the tour of the car. So it doesn't actually sparkle like that, of course. That's just because of the image refresh rate. And honestly, this Renault 4 still has some style. When you walk around it like this, it's well set, it's nice and wide, it has good stance, big rims, I like it. Honestly, it has a really, really good style. Feel free to tell me what you think in the comments. But I like it, honestly, compared to the concept, and they stayed pretty true to it. The handle here. So I open the door right here, so don't move. I'll turn off the lights. There you go, the door. Just like in the back, so this houndstooth pattern here, hard plastic on the top and also on the bottom. Then we just have this faux leather part here in the front to give a bit of a finishing touch. However, it's very hard, there's no padding here. Well, there you go, it's a bit less comfortable. We have the plastic parts here, pretty simple, with the same window and mirror controls that we find in the others. So something pretty simple here, but it works well with the impulse control. Very small storage compartment. What I find a bit lacking in the Renault 5, this one, is that if you look at the depth, there's almost nothing. It's just this. And when you put things in, they're not held in place very well right here. Next, the speaker areas where it's designed. That's pretty nice. And the bottom, like I said, with that part over there, everything that's a bit worked on here, I really like it a lot. And then the door seal that reminds us a bit of what's in the back, the little mat with the number 4, the pedals as we know them, a big footrest on the side, and the seats look like this in the front. On this iconic version, the Techno versions will be in denim, and that's pretty nice too. And I have to admit, I really like this one. It contrasts it, so they really wanted to do some pop stuff with the yellow here, which also stands out, just like on the R5. With this yellow color, I have to admit, I prefer it in gray like this, rather than the yellow of the R5. With this interior, that's a bit special in terms of color. You can see here, this part is really quilted like this. And also on the ceiling, you can also find that in the Renault 5. What do you think about that? A little bit padded like this is pretty nice. The seats, you can see there are lots of textures, there are lots of different stitching patterns. They really made an effort on that, and the look is honestly very, very cool. All right, I'm nicely settled in here all the way, and here's the view I have. So when you're like this, whether it's an R4 or not, everything else is the same. Except here, to see the houndstooth pattern and notice that it says Renault 4 right here, that looks very similar. Even though they did make an effort, they didn't go all the way. Like with the Renault 5, they made a difference with the 4. Plus this part here, which changes a little more. You can see that on this iconic version that you also find on the seats. So there's a very small difference at this level, but otherwise the rest is really what you find in the Renault 5. The same steering wheel, the same screens, but a fake entertainment system, the same air conditioning, the same lower part. Here, everything is the same, except that here we don't have the Renault 5. You can see it here. We just have the charger. End of action with the 4. Just to note, just here to give you a quick tour on the left, we have the driving aids here with the adaptive cruise control plus level 2 driving on this side. And here to scroll through the menus, we'll have over there the multi-sense here to change the driving modes. So I didn't play, or start it up, there you go. We also get a little animation when we get into the car for the first time. The screen here, so like this, the multi-sense. So at the bottom, we can see comfort, eco, sport. So it also changes the colors for me, the character that I can customize each time. It changes even the themes for me. Also right here, for example, if I set it like this, you can see it, for example. So here, I'm on the character, on sport mode, it's going to turn red. Each time, it customizes a little bit, and also the ambient lighting that we have here, as well as the ambient lighting that we can see right there, here, which will give a little effect on the door when it's nighttime. The really nice thing is this button here is the My SFT personal button to customize the driving aids that I want and don't want. And above all, not having the beep for the speed limit, because it's really annoying. And Renault is the first to have done this, and it's the coolest thing. Here, we adjust the height of the headlights. We open the trunk remotely here, an air vent there with something that even looks like it. So do we find on the 5, 2 in the center and 1 at the end? Over there, we find a button to start the car, which is located here. So this big screen here, and of course it's touch sensitive. We have our Renault avatar here, who we can talk to, who can do everything, who can open the windows, etc. The climate control thing stays here, and especially as a physical button. So if I want to turn on the air conditioning, there you go. And you see, I've started the air conditioning. A bit more ventilation here. It raises and lowers my temperature. I adjust it directly here, and I have everything as a shortcut. As a physical button, thank you Renault for doing this. Renault, they're really top notch when it comes to interiors. I think it's hard to do better since it's physical at the same time. Digital touch controls. Basically everything you need. The steering wheel here, the multi-scene I showed you, and now we have paddles behind the steering wheel here. So we'll either have regeneration at level 0, you can see it blinking over there, or I activate 1 arrow, 3 arrows, and 1 pedal mode at some point when I'm driving right behind. On this side, we have the lights. Of course, we have a photo mode. Either I turn them on or I leave them on auto. The best is to leave them on auto, and even the high beams are automatic on this side, then on this side. If we find 3 things up there, that's for shifting gears. So foot on the brake, I shift into DLD. It shows me here I can shift into reverse by going up. Here, that's Paula. Remember, I told you about it. She wanted to touch up her lipstick here, that she had to give this style. And honestly, I think that's really classy when it comes to the gear lever. But the backup camera, that's not classy at all. Honestly, the quality. Samsung D500, you know, do you remember the D500? I had the one that slid like that, even the Nokia 3330, something like that. I had those back in the day, Nokia N9696. No, honestly, the 96 made better videos than this. But yeah, basically, we're in video graphics array. It's kind of a shame to have this quality in 2025 or 2026. And you can remove the parking guidelines. It's right here, the parking button. By the way, there's no more parking button. I can switch back to drive or to neutral to push the car if I want. There's no more parking button. The parking button is directly this. Or as soon as I open the door, boom, it goes back to parking mode. And there you go. Boom, it's in parking right here. I'll straighten the steering wheel for you. And this, so still for the music in the back, you turn it for the volume. And with the pause, if you press both, it switches the source. In short, something very simple. And the menus, I made a dedicated video about them that you can find on the channel. Next, a storage compartment here, the parking brake, the auto here, the cigarette lighter, 2 USB-C ports here. The key looks like this, so something pretty simple. It's always been the same at Renault for a very long time with the new logo. Here we have 2 cup holders. You can also put small bottles here. And if I want, I could even put a bottle here. It's quite deep and there's a bit of storage. I could probably even fit 2, maybe even 3. Yeah, there's actually a lot of storage here. There we go. I'll put it back here. It was better. It's a sliding one here. It doesn't move forward. It's just like this and it clips in directly. Here, the seats, let me show you. The headrests, they're always the same. In the back, the padded roof when you get to the home to lower it. Here, they thought of leaving space to put your fingers. There you go, small. Card holder here, the mirror, the white LED here, and the microphones when I want to talk on the phone. And up here, the Save Our Souls button, plus the 2 small LEDs here, touch sensitive. A friend of a microphone, to pop out a mirror with 100 edges and automatically electrochromic at night like rear view mirrors. Here with the little thing on the sides. Anyway, I forgot to show you this before the brief. Small glove box, something quite simple right here. And you can always put the chopstick holder here like Paul liked. Anyway, this time we're hitting the road, so I'm going to drive a lot of miles. We're going to head out with it. 100% battery right now, to be honest. I have 45% left. And to be even more honest, more. I'm supposed to go to that place, which is 2 hours and 24 minutes away. She's telling me to recharge, but my goal is not to recharge here. So I'm going to delete this. She's telling me charging is necessary. Minus 25% on arrival, since there are a lot of highways. But on the highway, I'm going to drive at 90 and will try to go as far as possible. And if there really is, really needed, I have a card normally that works everywhere in Europe. Fingers crossed. Should we try it or not? Let's try. Here we go. We're going to try to get 100% battery at... I don't know if I'm going to make it. Fingers crossed. Sorry, Adrian from Renault, who told me, please, Nicolas, don't do that, right? We'll make it. Worst case, well, we'll recharge, but we'll make it. The goal is to arrive with 1% or more. That would be nice, but I hope, so just to give you an idea, the car shows me 126 kilometers of range. And so there's still, no, I don't want to add a stop. I actually want to cancel it. Yes, every time it suggests things to me, but no, I just want to go there directly, actually, without charging. No, I don't want to charge. I'm going straight there. No, it's really telling me it's necessary. It says, all right, I figured out how to do it and we're going to go. See you later if we make it. Yeah, I didn't find a better route. I'm only arriving with minus 16%, 126 kilometers shown here, 158 here. It'll be fine. Piece of cake. All right, let's go then. With this new Renault Quattro, what I'm doing is resetting all my meters to 0 here right now for consumption. And let's go drive. Let's get started with this new electric car. Here we are in the parking lot, where basically all the journalists pick up their Renault Quattro car. There are cars all around me. And it's always pretty impressive to see all these cars like this. What I like is that we all leave together for 100. And the ECW, wait, I just passed the big cable thing. It looks super legit. So they told us that a lot of things have changed on this car. We're talking about the R5. Basically, really the space and comfort, but at the same time, still a pretty dynamic chassis. All right, I'm gonna look for the exit inside, as you can see. So we have a little ambient lighting here, also on the doors, with this little houndstooth pattern here. How do you get out? Well, you know me, as usual, when it's an electric car, I try to test the range for you. And I'm often one of the few people in the world who does it for you. And the goal is gonna be to try to do it like that. We didn't set it up. Cars, it's always complicated, airport underground parking lots, but there are always big sidewalks. A huge big advantage of the electric car is that I can always stop right in the middle of a slope and I can start again super easily. There are margins on a slope. On top of the ease of the automatic side, plus the electric side, it really makes it super easy. In terms of maneuverability, it's okay. It's not too bad. There's a good turning radius. Yet you still get the feeling of having a pretty big car, but it does well. And here we go. So now to drive on the road, all kinds of roads, there will be some highway and everything. In 100 meters, stay in the left lane. Okay, deactivated. So it's Google Maps that's directly integrated into this car. It's pretty good. It works really well. It knows the charging points, etc. There's the range planner built into Google, and that's good, because it tells you how many kilometers you'll have left and what percentage of battery you'll arrive with. You can already set all that up, but look for your charging stations as you want. There's a Triumph Rocket 3. I dream about this motorcycle. Every time I see it, I tell myself that it's so beautiful. I feel like giving in, guys. It was one of my favorite bikes to test. And just seeing it again here, I won't lie to you. I'm actually on the classifieds right now. I really want to give in. The turn signal like this is pretty loud. You can really hear it well. The car feels very light, actually. That's the impression I get from the steering. It's light. It's pretty good. So, no, Saturday arrivals, no, it's never that way. Why does he want me to go that way, when for me, it's not that way? Is it because the airport exit is over there? At worst, I'll do something else here. I think if it goes back into the parking lots, or unless they know a clever little trick. But I think I've already ended up in another parking lot and all. I shouldn't have gone there. All right, I'll go this way. Yeah, that's it. I prefer when it makes me take the highway and straight to the main road. We have all the driving aids in this car. I have to admit, there are already quite a few anomalies on the road. And honestly, it looks super comfortable. The seats are nice. They're really well contoured. It's really nice. So what you need to know is that now they've added the one pedal, and I can activate the one pedal. On this R4, it's going to come to the R5 through an update. So I told you that during my last test of the R5 with the small battery. Here, we're starting with the big batteries. It's showing me 402 kilometers of range. If I turn off the one pedal, does it change? No, well, it'll be the same. And the noise you're hearing there is to confirm that you've activated the one pedal. And the one pedal lets me come to a complete stop without having to touch my brake pedal. And that's actually a real advantage for people who want to drive in the city. And honestly, to be completely transparent with you, I actually like it because it's quite pleasant, pretty smooth. At the end, it really stops very gently, and that's nice. I have to admit, I like that. I'm looking forward to really testing how it will work with anticipating other cars and everything, but here, it stopped gently. It's pretty nice. So right now, I have 1 hour and 20 minutes, 138 kilometers, and it tells me I'll arrive with 39% battery. Knowing that there's a big part on highways, the goal after that is to drive on the highway and then not use highways anymore. Let's see how it goes. But it's showing me 402 kilometers, and we can see that in 138, it would have used up 60% if we only did highway driving. And by the way, what's nice about this car is that it tells me if you only drive on the highway, Nico, you'll only do 220 kilometers. Come on. Let's go. It's running. So we have 150 horsepower in this car. Honestly, it accelerates pretty well. We've got some good takeoff here. And then even if I need to accelerate to merge in, it's very pleasant. I have to admit, the more power you have, the better it is. If you keep pressing the pedal all the way down, of course, you'll use a lot more energy. So using the pedal less in the end is actually a real advantage. Like I said, it's actually really smooth. In the end, it's pretty pleasant. So let's see how it goes. As usual, I'm showing you all types of roads here for the city. You can see it's pleasant. I have the air conditioning on, of course. Outside it's 22 degrees and I've set it to 21.5. But there's a lot of sunshine. So, you know, when it's sunny, you definitely need to cool down the cabin. So basically, we're leaving from Lisbon Airport. We're going for a little drive. I don't really know where. I just put the global positioning system on randomly with a destination that's pretty far away so that we can make sure we drive on all types of roads and still do quite a bit of highway driving. Because for me, the Quattro is still a big car that's supposed to handle all kinds of roads. So I like the one pedal driving, but honestly, as soon as it gets rolling like this, I have to admit I'm a bit less of a fan. I like being able to take my foot off and have it coast. So for example here, when I let off, it actually goes into coasting mode. I find one pedal driving really useful in the city, but on this kind of road, much less so. And I also like braking afterwards and playing with the coasting. It's interesting. We don't just regenerate energy when braking at the end, but we also don't consume any as long as we're coasting. When I'm stopped and I release my pedal, I can do it with fewer pedals. The car moves forward unless I've activated my auto hold here, which will keep the car stopped. Actually, with your foot on the brake, without you having to keep your foot on the brake, right? And what about the cars next to me? It's very, very well soundproofed. Just regular glass. It's not even laminated. The scooter, I just heard it a little, but honestly, it's pretty good. The brake pedal is very firm when pressed. 60 right in the middle with 80. This remedy does it. It also activates my driving aid. So of course we have level 2 driving assistance. With this car, I'm going 80 kilometers per hour and I don't touch anything anymore. Yeah, that's really good because here there are almost no more lines and it still follows the center well. I'm pretty impressed. Well done. There are still going to be quite a few highways. So here it's 120 in Portugal, just like in Spain, like in many, many other countries actually. It's 120 and back home we're lucky to have 130. And it's true that 130 really makes a difference on a long trip. So here it's 120. I wanted to do a little stretch at 80, honestly, it's really nice. It still shows me 400 kilometers of range, even after switching to 120. We have the toll system here, it's called Via Verde, here in Portugal. And there we go, we're going to overtake them. So, at 120 we have a car that's basically the same as the R5, so the road noise and everything is pretty much the same. It's warning me about a small speed camera, it's 120 here, so that's fine. There's no problem with road noise, chassis, etc. It's actually pretty well soundproofed. Clear sync. They also wanted it to be a bit more comfortable. You can hear the wind noise a little. Honestly, right now, I'm at 120. Even with trucks, it's actually pretty well soundproofed, but we do get some wind noise on the windshield. So it's a car that's a bit taller, a little more boxy. At 100 though, there's really no noise. I don't have it, but I'll try at 110 because where we are, the speed limit is 110 kilometers per hour. So starting from 95, you start to hear a little, very, very slightly, but it's still pretty good. We're doubling, but it doesn't really double at 110. At 100, it's fine, but from 110, we start to hear a little bit more at 120, a little bit more again. And I'll do a little stretch at 130 anyway, just to please you, please. So now I'm at 130, it goes there very easily, of course, with all my driving aids still on. At 130, you can hear more wind noise, but it's still okay. The road noise isn't unpleasant, and of course, I still have my driving aids on. The car drives itself, it's pretty good. If I just barely touch the brake pedal, I go into freewheeling mode. And you can feel that 130, 130, 120. Here, for example, just by slowing down, just by letting go of the pedal. Actually, it's really the effect of the wind that stops the car. So you can see that at 130, it really slowed me down a lot. And when you're in the city at 40 or 50, you saw, it goes, it moves. But here, as soon as I let go, it slows down. So that's why driving at 130 kilometers really slows the car down a lot. So you have to push much harder with the engine. That's it. For example, at 110, look at the slight inclines. It slows down very little compared to 130, and that's the effect of the wind. That's why an electric car uses much more energy at 130 than at lower speeds. And actually between 90 and 100, or even between 80 and 100, is often ideal for an electric car. I tried a Skoda, by the way, to be honest with you. Check out the review of the Octavia diesel. You'll be amazed by the fuel consumption. For me, it really surprised me. I won't say more, but it hasn't been released on the channel yet at the time I'm posting this video. But subscribe, don't hesitate. Just a little reminder to subscribe, a little click, a thumbs up, all that. And I was pretty amazed. But here, we're talking about electric, the opposite of diesel, which now, in the end, diesel is no longer extra. But for people who drive a lot, it's still, honestly, the ideal choice. And here, for example, look, I'm at 100. I put it in neutral, and honestly, it slows down very, very slowly. It still keeps a good coasting phase. And that can also affect consumption when you want to play the eco-driving game a little bit. What I'm going to do is get back up to 120. So, what you need to know is that in France, if we had driven at 130, we would have consumed a little more. At 120, we still consume less than at 130 kilometers per hour. What I'll do is give you a debrief at the end about the consumption, the average consumption, and how much range will be left at the very end. So, quick update. I did the first 35 to 40 kilometers at 120, and now I see everyone is driving at 130, so I'm driving at 130. And so now that's going to work. In 1.9 kilometers, 50 kilometers that I've been driving at 130, and I've covered 93.4 kilometers. I'm continuing, of course. I have 60% battery left, so 40% used. Having really done almost only highway driving here, that means basically 95 kilometers, let's say, really, by doing almost only highway driving. Because at the beginning, as you saw, there were barely 5 kilometers before it was straight to 120. Well, I didn't stop, giving you a little 0 to 100. Here, it's coming up to some... Basically, this is the place where normally you're supposed to be able to not stop. Is the car behind me going to pass to the other side? Yeah, it's good. It's passing to the other side. There we go. So here, there's a stop where I don't have to. I pretend like I'm really stopping here. There we go. Come on, 0 to 100. Go full throttle. That's good. €7 for the toll here. Okay, 70, 80, and 100. We'll know. It actually pulls pretty well. We've got good acceleration. It's quite direct in terms of dynamics. It seems really not bad. I think it leans a little more than the R5, but it still seems to have quite a bit of extra comfort. Now, I'm continuing on the highway. So, well, same thing. I'll set it to 130 here, and I'll let you know when I reach 50%, and at 50%, I'll start here. And I'll let you know when I reach 50%, and at 50%, I'll start asking myself the question, thinking, hey, I'll turn around, do what I need to do, then head back along the coast. Here, I'm heading deeper into the area. And what you need to know is that at that point, I really wanted to do it roughly. 50% battery while driving at 130. And do the rest to show you a bit of the difference in consumption, which is really quite obvious. So here, more than 50 kilometers here, at 130 kilometers per hour, I keep going. I have 35 kilometers left before the exit where I need to go, and it still shows me 154 kilometers of range. With a sort of little mix, so we'll see how it goes. My goal is to get as close to 0 as possible at the charging station to really see what we can do in reality. Of course, as was announced at the beginning, we can do 220 kilometers, 100% highway, so from 100 to 0%. And that's pretty much almost a certainty. So let's say we'll do 200 kilometers on the highway. And to be completely honest with you, I'll give you the consumption figures right away, knowing that it's almost all highway. I'm at 21.4 kilowatt hours per 100, knowing that I did the beginning at 120, which consumed a little more. So we can estimate an average of about 22 kilowatt hours per 100 on the highway. To be an extra weight, depending on the conditions, with heating or other factors. But you should be fine if you charge to 100% until the next charging station, Bourreau would charge again. 200 kilometers of real highway range means driving at 130 kilometers per hour the whole way. After that, heating on the highway won't consume that much. Because the heating uses about 1000 watts. So 1000 watts is 1 kilowatt hour, that's 1 kilowatt per hour, and we have a 52 kilowatt hour battery. So just to give you an idea, you should think in terms of hours for heating rather than kilometers. So I've noticed for a while now, since I've been watching for the last 10 kilometers, basically 1% of battery equals 2 kilometers, which makes sense since 100% equals 200 kilometers on the highway. And for a while now, I've been going at exactly 130 and sometimes 150. So I just reached an average of 50% battery at 21.5 average over 114 kilometers, 113.9 exactly. What you need to know is that right now it's telling me that if I keep driving on the highway, I could go another 111 kilometers just staying on the highway, which seems logical to reach 0% battery. But it's telling me if you drive only in the city, just in the city, you could go 206 kilometers more. So that would mean 130 plus 206. So basically that would make about 336. So 336 kilometers, which really doesn't seem unreasonable considering how much highway driving I've just done. So what I'm going to do now that I've passed 50% is go back to a lower speed. I'm going to set my speed, for example, to 90 kilometers per hour and drive at 90 kilometers per hour to keep going like that. All right, so here I am off the highway. So I've covered some kilometers and I've passed an average of 20.7, which is already better. So we've already managed to lower it quite a bit by going at 110. All right, now we're only going to do country roads. Now I'm going to try to find myself a spot. I have 46% left to Madrid, and I hope I can get to where I need to go. Since I just set the global positioning system, and I think maybe I went a little overboard afterwards. There are charging stations pretty much everywhere in Portugal. I've seen quite a few on the road, so I'll see if I need to recharge. And I have a little charging card that I planned for. I have a charge map that works pretty much everywhere. Unlike some others, the charge map, honestly, it's pretty cool. Do you pay? Well, I'm not advertising for them, but just in case, I'm looking for my share if we ever do some advertising together. What I know is that they do it with a lot of YouTubers, but not me, not at all. I paid for it myself, and I pay for all my subscriptions. That's the one that seems to work best. That's what I found on a forum. My goal is to give you the best information, at least on this channel. Well, you know me, Nico, and players, right? It shows me, like I said at the beginning of the video, 126 kilometers of remaining range and 158 kilometers to go. But it tells me that if I only drive in the city, I have 183 left. So normally it will readjust, since it told me that I will arrive with minus 18% of range, but that's fine here. And here we go again. So I'm off for an hour and 47 minutes normally, but as I said, I'm not going to go over 90. Now we'll make sure we can get to our destination still with more than minus 18 kilometers. Well, minus 18% of range left, because my goal is not to recharge during this test. And you also prove that on the highway, it really consumes a lot more, whereas in the city, not much less. I have 44% left. Let's see if with 44% I can manage to do at least about 160 kilometers. Anyway, I'll get back to you if I find some winding roads, something a bit more dynamic. I'm going to turn off sport mode because sport mode consumes a bit more. And by the way, this will let me test eco mode, which really smooths things out. The acceleration is set up so that it uses less energy, especially when I start the car, and that's it. Here we go. All right, I have 103 kilometers left to go. We started with about 160, and now it shows me 103 kilometers remaining and 103 kilometers remaining. However, it still shows that I will arrive with minus 10%, but you have to know how to anticipate. It knows that on the highway, you're supposed to drive here at 120, but if you want to go slower, you can arrive with more battery than expected. So basically, normally I'll have a difference of about 10% if I keep driving like this. So I slowed down. I've been driving between 80 and 90 for a while now. I get behind trucks and actually it's going well. Well, there you go. It goes to minus 9% because that's what it does. It adjusts based on your vehicle's average range. And at the same time, it knows that, for example, on the highway, it's without seeing. So it adapts to the maximum speed limit. So if you want to go slower, well, normally you can manage to do it. So what's quite interesting is that on Saturday here, with the limited range, it shows the area of the range limit, where I'm basically going to go with my car to see. My goal is to get there. I took the shortest route, but not the fastest. And in any case, my goal is not to go over 90 years old. On the highway where there aren't many people, in Portugal on the highway. Today, I'm continuing let's go. We'll see how far we get, my friends. There's 10% battery left, 49 kilometers with 10%. I'm right in the middle of the mountains. I hope I make it. And look at what's happening. I have 32 kilometers left with 38 minutes to get there with 0. So we went from, basically it was telling me I'd have minus 20. But in the end, by driving slowly at 80, well, I'll actually catch up and end up with 10%. I prefer 48 kilometers, which seems really good. So I'll keep going and I'll catch up with you when I arrive to give you a little debrief over there, hoping we'll have some nice sunshine. And everything here is really sticky. Well, I have 5% battery left. It just flashed telling me Nico 5%. Well, I had 5%. I'm in eco mode. But when I press, there are still the 150 horsepower inside. That's pretty cool to think about. In case I need to overtake in an emergency and I don't have any more battery, I can still overtake and make a quick maneuver. That's pretty good. Anyway, I have 7 minutes of driving left with 5%. I'm totally fine. It's going to work. So you see, it really went down. I'll give you the consumption and other stats in a few minutes so we can see where we ended up. But honestly, it was pretty pleasant. So it's 6 o'clock. I've been in this car since around noon or maybe 1 o'clock, I think. So that's quite a bit of driving. And honestly, I'm feeling good. I just found a little street right here. It looks like it zigzags a bit, so I'll see how it goes, but it seems to be between houses. We're not going to do anything crazy, but in any case, I really like this chassis. The car doesn't roll much. Honestly, even when it turns from left to right, it still feels pretty responsive. The acceleration, like I said, is pretty good. It turns into a path here. Should we try it or not? You know. Well, tried, but it's a path. A path, it's really not a road at all anymore. If it doesn't work, at worst, a little reverse. I have 3% left on the path. It'll be fine. Maybe I shouldn't actually do it, right? That seems tough, really tough. There's a draw, big cracks and everything. No, that's going to be too much in reverse. Then I still like to try. Should I go for it or not? You know me. I'm pretty much a risk taker. Yeah, it'll work. There are big holes though, but it's comfortable. It's super comfortable, honestly. I'm pretty impressed, I have to admit, because here it's really messed up. The fact that it's raised up, that's it. That's a big advantage, because otherwise I think a lot of cars would have scraped here. And by the way, be careful, because there's a really big bump here. It would be a shame to damage the underside of the car. And I'm impressed. Honestly, it's super comfortable, and I really wasn't expecting that at all. Well, there you go. I showed you the off-road part on one side, and here it's not very smooth either. The SP does its job very well. Here, I'm flooring it just to test the traction control, and honestly, I'm not disappointed at all. It's really pleasant. Actually, I'm really surprised by how they tuned the chassis, because nothing. And it can be dynamic like this. It's pretty lively, and at the same time, it's comfortable. So really, really good job from the engineers who managed to combine both comfort and a car that seems pretty dynamic. Nice surprise. So where are we at with this car and its fuel consumption? I have 2% left. I'm going to get there. I have an appointment right at the end of this street, 2%. So I managed to do it. So in the end, if you drive much slower, I really did the remaining 158 kilometers. I'm at 287 kilometers, 8 kilometers of range left. The air conditioning has been running all day, heating and other things if needed. And I have an average of 16.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Having done a bit of everything, so roughly 100 and some kilometers of highway to really test it, about 50% battery usage, mostly on the highway, and the rest on smaller roads. Driving between 90, 80 and the small town. So let's say that the actual usage on a mixed route, knowing that there was still 50% highway, will be roughly, let's say 300 kilometers to really reach 0% battery. I still had about 10 kilometers left to reach zero. You never actually reach zero, clearly it's often at 10%. You stop, but you don't necessarily drive on the highway at 130 the whole way with this kind of car. If you do, you know that every 150 kilometers clearly, you'll have to stop to recharge quite a lot. And honestly, it's pleasant, it's nice to drive, it's comfortable on the road, the suspension is great, I felt good inside, it looks spacious, and that flat hood. I admit that it's more about what they do. It's like saying, look, I have a nice front, I have a big thing. You can still feel in the sport utility vehicle spirit, people want that impression of something big every time to feel safe. Honestly, I felt good even on the trails. It's pleasant, the dynamism. I didn't really get to test it, really dynamic. But honestly, besides me and a few journalists like me who actually does that in real life. I'll try tomorrow to take another one and make you another video, a different one, to test that. But otherwise, just like the R5, the consumption is honestly good. It's pleasant, it's made for people who live mainly in a big city or around it or in the countryside. But if you want to travel across France quite often, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but rather a Scenic, for example. So, of course, it costs much, much more, or other cars that are electric with bigger batteries. But honestly, it does the job for daily use, I think. In 98% of cases, the small battery will be more than enough for you. So I'll admit that on the R5, why not? Well, the Renault 5, on the Renault 4, it's a bit bigger, it requires more things for the family. Otherwise, I would still rather take, I think, the big battery unless you're really tight on budget and you really use it a lot, just for the city. And that you have, on the other hand, really another car to go on long trips. Because otherwise, long trips with the small battery, not for me, it's not interesting at all. So there you go, I like this car, it's pleasant, it's pretty, it really has style. And then there's the flower power in the middle of the flower fields. Really, it was very pleasant. If you like the video, give it a little thumbs up like this. Don't hesitate, because these consumer tests like this are really putting more effort than most people today to really make this for you. 100% of the battery on all types of roads. So that makes me, and well, some good shoots with long days. So give a little thumbs up. Don't hesitate to subscribe if you have any questions in the comments. And then there you go, as usual. Don't hesitate, and I feel like starting something. By the way, for those of you who stay until the very end, you are the most loyal ones. I want to start something with all the people who comment on my videos, who like them. If you commented and the video gets more than 100,000 views, I'm thinking I'll give out gifts, €100 gift cards, every time a video gets over 100,000 views. Does that interest you? Feel free to let me know in the comments. So yeah, that's just a little idea I had that just crossed my mind, just like that. Today, while I was driving for hours and hours, I thought every time a video gets 100,000 views, I'd really like to share that with you. We'll see, why not? Either with everyone or just with those who have subscriptions. For the most loyal subscribers, the subscriptions are really cheap. And on one hand, it might give the channel a little boost. And at the same time, it would allow me to give you some small gifts, because all of this is also thanks to you. And there you go for those who support, etc. It's just an idea. Don't hesitate, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, don't hesitate. And for those who are interested, you can also subscribe. But I think I'm going to launch this now. We're in the month of May. I think maybe around the end of May or the beginning of June. I think I'm going to launch this. Every video. Yeah, no, actually, that's it. It's decided. Every time a video gets over 100,000 views, from now on, starting with this one, the Renault 4, one person will be selected from the comments to receive a €200 gift. Let's go, kisses, my friends. See you soon.